Hey guys, welcome back to the village. If you're new here, we talk about topics that relate to the African culture, as though we were actually in the village. So stay tuned and be sure to subscribe. So I have a question for you guys. Did the YouTube 2021 creators list actually exclude Africa? Now, this is a legit question. If you guys don't know, at the tail end of 2021, around November-ish towards December, YouTube actually released top 10 2021 creators, and they had different categories. They were around 5. So they had trending videos, who were the top creators in that specific category, music videos, they had top creators, they had breakout creators, and then obviously the newest segment, which is the short creators segment. Now, one thing that I did notice, because when I got this information, I was genuinely happy about it. But one of the things that I did notice is that if you go to the very top of the list, there was a tab there that had countries. Now I was like, okay, I'm so excited, because I do want to see, what many people in Africa are watching, because data is knowledge and knowledge is power. It sort of like helps you to understand what is it that we as Africans love to watch. Now, when I went here on the drop down menu, as you can see, these were all the countries that they had. So they had Germany, India, Indonesia, Japan, Mexico, and then the very funny thing that happened is that Middle East and North Africa was bundled together, and I was like, what? Wait, what? This is something that many tech companies, especially like global tech companies, tend to do. They tend to divide Africa into sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa, which is really annoying, especially from an African perspective, because it just continues to perpetuate this superiority inferiority thing, and I was really disappointed that this happened. But also, I'm trying to understand from a product perspective, because you have to understand that Google bought YouTube. So YouTube is a product of Google. So from a product perspective, I guess to them, they were like, well, they just, maybe a lot of them, majority of them speak Arabic, so it's easy to lump them up like that. But it's just really frustrating, honestly. And then they had Russia, Singapore, and South Africa. South Africa was the only African country that had its standalone data. And then they had South Korea, Spain, Turkey, the UK, and then the US. I know there are many other countries that were not included here, but I was like out of all the African countries, this is all that there is to show about Africa. And so I was really curious to understand how the information or the data was collected for it to be able to inform this top 10 2021 list. And if you look down here, this tab where there's this huge YouTube icon at the bottom, you see at the very end here on the right hand side, they have methodologies. Now, let me pivot a little bit so that I can show you the information. If you click on the methodologies tab, it actually took you to this tab where it shows the 2021 YouTube top 10 methodologies and assets. So it actually informs you or gives you a little bit of an idea how the data was collected for each and every of these categories as per the countries that were displayed. Now, it says here for the top 10 videos that it's based on in-country views of videos published in 2021, excluding shorts, music videos, trailers, and children's videos. And the source on all these categories, you'll notice, is Google data. So for me as an African, I was like, okay, Google is everywhere around the world, but why is it that why is it that data for African countries was not featured per se? You know, like there's only South Africa, and also North Africa got bundled up with Middle East, which was very weird. I was like, what is this? I understand from a tech perspective and a data privacy perspective, maybe it could be tricky to maybe get data from African countries because of data privacy, I guess. Is that the case? Could that have been the reason? I'm just really curious at this point because if you guys know, YouTube way back in 2020, YouTube actually introduced YouTube Black. And I have serious opinions about this, and it was a good initiative, and it was, you know, Malik was trying to do something great. This is way before Mr. Malik actually moved to Pinterest. So YouTube has then backed this up with this whole sort of like front of, oh, we are investing in Black artists, we are investing in Black creators. Our goal is to push, you know, try and elevate and push and create a platform for Black stories to be heard, and sort of like create this narrative of equality and inclusivity, which is great. So I mean, with all this marketing and with all this publicity around equality, inclusivity, Black creators, investing in Black artists, you need to understand my shock when I came here and I was like, okay, what's going on with the countries? Why is it that when you look at the information here, like, African countries barely featured? Now, if you click on South Africa, one thing that I did notice is that a lot of the creators were actually South African, but I did notice, you know, in some instances, some of the creators, like especially the top creators, you know, they were still the very ones that were highlighted, for instance, in the US, like Daman, Mr. Beast, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Could this mean then that South Africans were heavily consuming content from people in the US? Is that what this means? And you see, like, this kind of information really helps to open your mind as a creator, and also helps Africans to understand what is it that they're heavily consuming, so that they can be, you know, there's this hot thing of conscious consumerism, like at what point do we also support our very own? So this is the reason why this data is very important, you know. So the same was not true when you went to Middle East. If you click on Middle East, you notice all the information was mainly in Arabic. That's why I was saying that maybe because maybe I can try and say, okay, maybe they were trying to bundle Middle East and North Africa because of language, you know. And I was like, okay, but still, from an African viewing this data, it's very confusing. It just doesn't speak to the continent of Africa, and it's really confusing because North Africa is not part of Middle East. But anyway, that aside, you can see that here the top creators even were totally different. The ones that were featured in the US did not appear here, so this data was absolutely different. And that's why I'm saying I wish they included more African countries, because it would have been really eye-opening to see this information, you know. YouTube has been saying that, oh, you know, our mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. We believe that everyone deserves to have a voice, and that the world is a better place when we listen, share, and build a community through stories. Now, if anybody from YouTube ever gets to watch this video, please can you answer and help us understand why is it that African countries were not featured like in that drop down menu on the top 10 2021 creators. You know, I did try my best to actually post on the Google community. I also reached out to YouTube via Twitter, and all they told me is that, hey, do you mind just putting this in the feedback section? You know, we appreciate your feedback. And it was very, I understand Google is a big company and YouTube is a big company. It's a big product that is a part of Google. But if you guys are going to be talking about inclusivity, about Black creators and lifting Black creators, it is important that we also have the right statistics around Black creators so that we can be able to understand how we're consuming content. From a consumer perspective, people can understand how they're consuming content. From a creator's perspective, it is great because then you're able to understand, okay, who are the consumers watching, where are they watching, perhaps, you know, you can be able to answer these kind of questions. Anyway, guys, so when it comes back to this topic of the top 10 2021, if any of you actually managed to look at the data and the statistics that were shared, please look at the methodologies and try and help me understand, like, did I miss anything? Did YouTube actually exclude African countries? Does any of you know why this happened? Please help me understand, because, you know, it's important that we understand how we get informed, or we have a clue to some degree how we as Africans are interacting with the platform, you know. And if Google, you're going to talk about building inclusivity and celebrating Black creators, data is something that is very important in content creation, because then with the analytics you're able to understand much more. It's one thing to look at your own analytics, you know, on your YouTube channel, and it's another thing when the aggregated analytics and statistics and the data is out there for you to analyze and read. So anyway, this is all I had to say, guys. Let me know what you think. You know, leave your comments down below. You know, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you like the video, of course. Until next time, cheers.